welcome to How to Be a Texan. Hey, Kevin, how you doing, sir?
Good.
Good? Yeah.
How are you?
Good, Andrew?
Yep.
Oh.
I was just looking through the topic here, but I got a little scared reading it, man.
You should be, because today
It's a scary one.
I was hoping we'd talk about tornadoes. You okay
Tornadoes.
with that? Yeah, and how would you spell a plural tornado?
Tornado.
No.
No? That's not right.
No. Is it the same as tomatoes? Tornadoes and tomatoes?
Tomato, tornado.
Well, if you're going to spell a plural tomato.
I have no idea.
Well, there's an ES.
Is it? Is that the correct?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Well, no.
Because you better have your facts right, or else one of our listeners will be on your case.
Our fact checker's going to get me. I'll prove correct on this one. I looked it up because it just bothered me as I typed this up. So today we're going to talk about tornadoes, and the reason why is that we sit clearly in Tornado Alley.
Dallas does. Definitely.
Yes. And so Tornado Alley is a mythical term. It's not, I did look this up. It's not kind of a scientific or geographic boundary. It is a moving kind of amoeba-like shaped structure that kind of goes up and down the Midwest, and it always has Oklahoma in it.
Yeah, I was going to say it's constant. Oklahoma and North Texas are always in it.
Right.
No matter how it changes, right?
That's right. All right. But Oklahoma it feels like it's the epicenter of Tornado Alley. And, I'm half Okie, and it just, bad news, but that's the way. And I don't know why, if it's the way North America is shaped, and that's the way storms roll through, and they tend to get the real severe, nasty stuff. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a meteorologist, but that would be an interesting one.
Or maybe every once in a while, just, Old Testament style plague comes down on Oklahoma for some reason.
I don't know. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that in the form of tornadoes. So tornadoes, I thought we'd talk about it a few different ways. Number one, just kind of define it. Number two, just talk about the how they're defined as far as their intensity scale. And the reason why, let me bring it back, called How to Be a Texan. Why in the world would we talk about tornadoes? Well, because we have a crap load of them here.
Every year.
Yeah. And so, again, if you're going to live here or you want to live here, just know that this is one of the scary things that we have here.
Yeah, and it's not uncommon during May. And we had a quiet May, tornado-wise, actually.
We did.
But it's not uncommon to gather around the TV and watch the weather map.
That's right.
Because when one's rolling in, they will start, you'll see it roll from West Texas all the way across here, and they'll start, updating, live news, coverage.
Yeah.
And there's been many evenings where we're just watching, okay, is it going to come this way? Nope, dodge a bullet, go that way.
Well, or we'll be watching it from the inner loins of our bathroom,
That's
all five
disgusting.
of us. That's what happens. We all just hunker in our little bitty bathroom.
Oh, yeah. Once it kind of gets close, then you run for cover.
Yeah.
Center of the house somewhere, no glass, no windows.
No glass.
Bathroom. We use our bathroom, our pantry.
Yeah.
Right in the middle here. That's what you got to do.
Just go out in the open and say, Calgon, take me away.
Hold a finger up there. Which way's the wind coming? Oh, okay.
I don't think it's going to come this way.
Dorothy and Toto.
Take me to Oz.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Oh, man. Hail usually follows with those same storms, too, right?
Yeah, and I thought it was the precursor.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's not following. It is the precursor.
Yeah, I think it's like it's this dark, eerie, quiet, and then all of a sudden it gets green, and then it gets windy, and then a little rain, hail, tornado.
Yep.
You're done.
That's what was going on last year when we had the massive hailstorm here.
Yeah.
There were tornadoes popping up everywhere, too, if you remember. And I think one was hit, relatively close, but north of here.
Oh, yeah.
On that same night. But then the hail just demolished your place and my place.
It did. But thank goodness, no. There was a little tornado that hit down about 5 miles north of here. Mm-hmm. Right when that thing came through, there was one that it just dotted along 377. And we drove by it just after, and it was trees just twisted all up and metal roofs taken off and all that.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
The power of those is just mind-boggling.
It is, and there's one thing that drives me crazy because I remember this was when Amy and the kids, this was a number of years ago, were in Destin, Florida, and I was here by myself, and I decided to go to a movie over in Flower Mound at Grapevine Mills, and I'm sitting there 3/4 of the way through the movie and Amy texts me. She's like, "Hey, are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm watching a movie." Anyway, there's a tornado that rips straight through Flower Mound, and it's coming, and it basically comes right to Grapevine Mills, and they end up shutting the movie down and getting us all out in the middle of the mall. And then after that, ever since then, they have this, in the spring, they have this warning, if something happens and, do this, this, and this. And I'm like, well, holy cow, I was in the middle of why they're doing that now.
Yeah. No, it's crazy, man. And the ones you're talking about are relatively small in scale. And the damage that can be done. One of the childhood memories that I have is that Wichita Falls tornado in 1979, because I had relatives that lived up there.
Oh.
And that thing was 1.5 miles wide.
Wow.
1.5 miles wide, and it cut 2.5 mile swath through the south of Wichita Falls, Texas. And I mean, the little one that you were talking about on 377 took out, I mean, even a small one like that taking out roofs and trees and stuff. Imagine one that big and just the destruction that it leaves behind. It's just mind-boggling.
I remember a tornado. I vaguely remember a tornado coming through Flower Mound whenever I was in elementary school.
No, that was it. That was the one I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
So Amy and the kids were in Destin during that one. It came right to the south of y'all's house, right over my house, and then basically picked up Grapevine Mills Mall and took it away, me included.
Yeah,
But I'm okay.
I remember they brought us all out into the hallway.
Oh, you were at school?
Yeah, I was at school during it.
Did you do a duck and cover?
I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe.
That's what we used to have to do. You remember those?
I think we were just sitting in the hallway.
Yeah. We used to have to go out and do these duck and cover drills in elementary school.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe we
did those all the time.
Maybe we did do that.
I don't know.
All the time.
My elementary school had carpeted walls, and they always had lice in them. It was really nasty.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
I'm just saying. That's kind of how I grew up.
Well, the other memorable...
You had to walk down the center.
Use like the steam cleaner on the walls.
So disgusting.
I just was told to walk in the center of the hall so the lice couldn't jump out on me. I'm just saying,
disgusting.
why would you carpet the walls of a middle school or an elementary school? I don't know.
Save money on insulation, probably.
I guess, but it was disgusting. So
the other memorable one for me was the Fort Worth tornado in the year 2000.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that one?
You spoke of that before.
Yeah. It came through downtown Fort Worth. That was an F3 tornado.
Oh, geez.
And took out so many buildings and hit the Cashmerica building where my dad was literally stepping out the building to leave work and like got blown back in the back door, literally. And then that thing just rolled across. That's the other memorable one because it took quite a while because it went through downtown and took out just windows off of buildings and everything.
No, I remember
that took forever to clean that thing up.
Yeah, well, the Tandy Center had plywood windows for years after.
Oh
that.
Yeah,
I remember that. Mm-hmm. Okay, so getting back, so the only one that I really was close to, I remember a track meet in junior high where we thought a tornado, everything turned green, swirl clouds, and we all thought and we were all on our buses. What good's that going to do?
That's probably the worst place to be is go get the school bus.
Absolutely. But they put all the track teams back in our yellow school buses, and here we just look at this green swirling cloud right over our head. That was bad.
That green sky is very eerie.
Oh, it's creepy.
If you haven't experienced it, it's just hard to even describe.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just you walk outside and it's like a greenish yellowish color.
Oh, yeah.
And everything is just still. There's no wind whatsoever.
Yeah. No,
kind of literally the quiet before the storm.
That calm before the storm is just very, very scary. So, okay, so going back to the definition of a tornado is a mobile destructive vortex of violently rotating winds having the appearance of a funnel-shaped cloud and advancing beneath a large storm system. And no, I don't have a citation. The internet. The internet.
www.internet.com.
Thank you.
www.com.
Thank you.
www.com.
Thank you, Al Gore. Then the categories, I thought it was important. You said an F3. Most people have no idea what that means.
Yeah.
So
I was teeing you up a little bit with that one.
Thank you.
And that was an F. I couldn't find the Wichita one, what it was, but F3, the Fort Worth was an F3.
Well, if you go down to that weather.gov top 10 tornado link, you'll see because it defines in that one. There's the weather.gov app actually gives a top 10 worst tornadoes in Texas history. And so I have a few of those. But before we get to that, let's just go through this intensity scale. So it's called, for tornadoes, it's called the Fujita Intensity Scale. And who was Fujita? Dr. Ted Fujita was a University of Chicago guy, and he came up with this system in 1971 and classified tornadoes from F0 to F5. And that's based on the type and severity of damage that the tornadoes produce. So just quickly, I won't bore you to tears with this, but F0, those are kind of gale tornadoes, 40 to 72 miles per hour, light damage. Really, definitely something to worry about, but nothing close to anything beyond that. F1, moderate tornadoes, 73 to 112 miles an hour, moderate damage. So that's not good. So that'll peel off certain roofs, mobile homes are pushed around, etc. F2, that is a significant tornado. That's 113 to 157 miles an hour, considerable damage, roofs torn off, mobile homes demolished, boxcars pushed over, large trees snapped or uprooted, light object missiles generated. That doesn't sound good at all. Can you imagine that? Like if you got tiki torches in the back?
I just looked up that Wichita Falls tornado was an F4.
F4?
That was F4. The one that was 1.5 miles wide.
Jeez.
That was an F4.
Okay, let's
get... Yeah, so missiles were... large missiles are generated.
Large, like cabooses are missiles.
They'll pick up a truck, 18-wheeler and turn it into a...
Like King Kong or something, throwing it at you?
It will.
100-mile-an-hour fastball with a Dodge Ram? That would stink.
Do it. It's amazing.
Okay, so an F3 is a severe tornado. That's 158 to 206 miles an hour. Severe damage... trains overturned, most trees uprooted, heavy cars lifted and thrown off the ground. F4, devastating. A tornado, 207
as if these others are not devastating. So we can handle those, but this F4 is a little...
Large missiles generated with an F4. F5, that's the one. I just watched parts of Twister again, the movie. You've never seen that, right?
I have not.
That Bill Pullman and whatever that pretty blonde actress.
Yeah. Nah, I haven't watched it.
Oh, gosh.
I don't watch too many movies.
That's sad.
It's too big of a time commitment.
I've seen Twister probably 28 times. I'm kidding. Parts of it I've seen 28 times. It's on, I watch it. It's one of those Forrest Gump movies. If it's on, I watch it. You know? I get sucked in. So Twister was on yesterday. I watched 30 minutes of it. It was right in the middle. There was one part where they had to wrap themselves with the leather belts, and they were looking up in the eye of the, it's very...
Why did they wrap themselves in a leather belt? They tied themselves to like a pole or something?
Yeah, with a leather belt. And they got lifted up, and they were looking up in the clear vortex of the tornado. It was beautiful.
That sounds so realistic.
Whatever. it's a fantastic... Don't you...
So if you're in a tornado, tie yourself to a flagpole with a leather belt.
No, you and I would tie ourselves to each other to a flagpole, and then we would get lifted up, and we would look back up into the core of the tornado.
That does not sound fun. Not going to happen. To
them, it was kind of romantic, and they got back together as a result of it. I'm not saying that would happen with you.
You and I are not doing that. This podcast has gotten really weird.
It's only awkward if you make it awkward.
It's awkward.
Okay, thank you. So then an F5, incredible tornado. I like the devastating tornado to an incredible tornado is an F5. That has a 261 to 318 mile per hour. How do you measure that? How do you say a 318 mile an hour wind? Who got in the middle and measured that wind gauge?
I have no idea how they do that.
That's crazy.
Maybe satellite images can do that?
This is one of those where it's a 1.5 miles, 2 mile wide, everything in its path is, and he says, trees debarked, incredible phenomena will occur.
That's such an understatement.
I like it.
After all that. Oh, by the way, something incredible might happen.
Thank you, Dr. Fujita. So,
Dr. Ted.
Yeah. So, okay, so back to this article. So I only listed off the top 5 or 6. And so, believe it or not, of the top 10 or so Texas tornadoes, really May is the month. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I wanted to do that this time of year, even though this is early June. May and June, these are really the deadly times for us in the spring. I know hurricane season really starts now through the fall, and we start to get, the hurricanes in South Texas and really across the southern U.S. But tornado season and Tornado Alley, it's a big deal right now. And so if we look at it, Wichita Falls, I'll go kind of backwards up from 6 to 1. Wichita Falls, as you just talked about, that was April 10th, 1979, 42 dead, 1,700 injured. And it did. I remember looking at the path of it, and it just kind of came up. I feel like it came southwest to northeast on that path, and it really did. It dotted around and ended up hitting, I believe, did you say downtown?
It said in the article I was reading the southern part of town. Okay. I don't know which direction it was moving, though.
Okay. Then going up to number 5, the Glacier Higgins Woodward. This went across. This is in 1947, and it was April 9th, 1947. 181 dead, 970 injured. But that goes across. So you would think, well, that's number 1. Well, it's number 1 if you look at it going Texas and Oklahoma, but anyway, it ranks only number 5 in Texas, but it's still a bad one. So apparently it started in Texas and then went up and ripped through Oklahoma. Rock Spring was April 12th, 1927, 74 dead, 205 injured. And then you have the top 2. You have Goliad and Waco. Goliad occurred in 1903. Goliad, if for those of you that don't know, there's a lot of Santa Ana history in Goliad that we can get back to at some point. But Goliad really is in between, if you draw a line between San Antonio and Corpus Christi down on the coast, Goliad is just kind of north of that line, about halfway. So it's really southeast of San Antonio. Anyway, there were 114 dead there, 250 injured, and that was in 1903. And then you get to number 1, the co-number 1 on the list, but there were actually more damage and more injured there, and that was in Waco. And that was in May 11, 1953, where there were 114 dead and then 597 injured.
So these are just ranked by the deaths?
It's by death.
Not by
the death
destruction?
toll. No. It's all by death toll. And now they've come back and they've said in today's dollar, it was at this many billions or hundreds of millions in damage or whatever. But
I think in the older times, more people would die in these than they would today. So you may have one that's much more destructive today, but not as many people die.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. And we'll talk through it. But I'm doing some research on these hurricanes right now, and back in the day when a hurricane would hit the coast, everybody just got killed because nobody had a clue. It's like, it's raining. All of a sudden, boom, there's a 319 mile an hour hurricane that just killed them. So anyway, but Waco, it's pretty interesting. The one in Waco, of course, I went to Baylor, and I lived 5.5 years of my life in Waco. There's a lot of history there of it just going through downtown, and I saw that there was a first-hand account that in the Baylor Library they came up with this really cool letter that there was a man that was basically writing a letter up until about 4:20 in the afternoon, and he said, there's some bad weather coming, and then he stopped. 3 minutes later, the tornado hit and came, just gutted through downtown Waco, and then he picked the letter back up at like 5 a.m. the next morning saying, the town's destroyed, we can't find these people, Anyway, it was
his letter did not get destroyed in the tornado?
No, it didn't hit his house.
Oh, I see.
And that's the evil thing about these tornadoes is they are so particular about, it's like they have a personality there. I know they don't, but it's like they have a personality of their own. As far as what house, they can go right through a neighborhood and leave one house alone and totally flatten the one 10 feet from it.
Yeah, that's weird.
Oh, it's just phenomenal. Weird. So anyway, so as we talked about, kind of just, what should you do? And Kevin and I talked a little bit about, we get in our own little rooms, but tell me again, kind of, do you like put some armor on, or what kind of stuff do you wear?
Yeah, I put my bicycle gear and helmet on. Yeah.
That's good. And goggles?
Goggles, yeah.
Hearing protection? Or?
Not hearing protection, no. But the bicycle uniform is kind of streamlined for when the wind, you can cut through the wind, and then the helmet helps it with the debris that's flying at you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
The shoes are a little awkward, with the cleats on them and stuff if you need to run, but it just kind of goes with the outfit.
That is so stupid.
No armor, no clothing for a tornado.
I will give you some advice. You should put some clothes on, though.
I do wear clothes.
If you're in the shower or something and a tornado is pending, I would advise you to go ahead and put some clothes on.
I generally don't go hop in the shower.
Usually robe at least.
Yeah. Usually we're huddled around the TV in the family room watching it. It's like a movie. You get popcorn going and you just watch it roll in.
Right.
You watch what's his face on the news talking about it for hours beforehand. And, now it's, and the technology that they have now to predict, the speed that they're traveling and, where it's at and what it's doing and where it's going to be an hour from now is pretty incredible.
Well, and all these iPhone alerts are pretty amazing too. So, nowadays you can get these weather alerts that kind of pop up. Mm-hmm. But what happens is, all that is in this research, the couple of these articles I found.
So back to what you do. So we generally will do, if there's a storm alert, then we will generally be watching like that. Yes. And then if we think there's going to be, generally there's hail with those. So the smart thing to do is make sure you get all your cars under cover.
Right.
Make sure you got all your animals under cover. Stuff like that.
Right.
And then, we can quickly get from our family room, and even our family room is, not a whole lot of windows, but we can quickly get from there into, we got a giant pantry in the kitchen that some of us hop into.
Right.
And then we have 2 bathrooms that are, inside the house that are protected. So we'll just kind of divide and conquer and go in there until it passes over. That's kind of what you do.
So I agree. And we do all that. And it actually, some of this research says wear a helmet. No kidding. Because of the debris. I know it sounds silly, but and if you're in an apartment, the safe thing is, again, getting.
Oh, if you're in an apartment, it's over.
Or a mobile home, not so much. But it does say get in a bathtub, cover up with a mattress. But True. It also, what would you do if you're in a car, like out? And I've been in this situation before.
I have never thought about that. What did you do?
I have.
Yeah.
We found cover.
Yeah.
We found the nearest building, and we were literally out. I mean, I'm talking East Texas, in the middle of nowhere, and we found a gas station that was made of concrete walls.
Yeah.
And we got in it.
Well, that's good.
And we weren't the only ones. There were a bunch of people that stopped and ran in because it looked like it was coming.
So you were lucky to be close to a place. What if you're not?
And it was the only place within miles.
Yeah, but what if you're not? What do you do?
It says, there's a lot of things here that it talks about. It says basically you're hosed. Do not stay in your car.
Yeah. If you're managing a track team, don't go put them all in the big yellow school bus.
That was a horrible idea.
Maybe under the school bus would have been a better call.
Probably so. But this says basically find a really the deepest ravine and get down in it so you can avoid.
That's what I always heard.
Yeah.
We know they used to put storm cellars around on houses.
Right.
And Kendra's dad had a storm cellar at his place, and Kendra's grandparents have one. We've never had one, but that's ideally what you would do. Go get in your storm cellar.
It is, and I don't know if I've told you about the one we had up in Oklahoma. I refused to get in it because it scared me to death.
Yeah.
And going back to snakes and whatever.
Oh, yeah, we did talk about that.
There's stuff down in there that I still, to this day, even as a 50-year-old, I'm not going down in there because it is so creepy. Well,
I like your other one here. You just pray.
There's a lot of praying that's going on at that time. I promised you, there is a lot of praying that's going on.
And I don't think the leather belt thing's gonna.
No, well, that's the twister. That's the twister thing.
I really still can't picture that in my mind.
Where we gingerly tie each other and all that, and then look up into the vortex of it. So.
All right.
So hey, that's tornado talk. So please be careful out there. If you're in the middle of an F5 318 mile an hour tornado, please please just be careful.
Yeah. And the technology has gotten so much better the way they can predict it. And I think you said here in one of your notes that it was the 1953 Waco tornado that kind of gave birth to the national warning system for these things anyway.
That's right.
And then the technology has just evolved such that they can predict them so well, they can track them. So,
that's right.
If you get an alert, get home, watch the news, watch where it's coming.
That's right.
Generally be okay.
Tie up to your BFF in a ditch with a leather lanyard.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
That's terrible advice. No, but please do take these seriously because they absolutely happen here in Texas. So.
Very good.
Well, hey, thank you all for listening to us. And,
look us up on iTunes, Spreaker, Google Play. Leave us a review. Adios.